Hello everyone. This is a video answer key. Please use a different colored pen or pencil to correct and score yourself given what you think you should have on this. So again, make your corrections in a different color and then turn it in when you are done. Alright, so let's get started. For this first part, we're looking for the vocabulary that describes the degree and the number of terms. So I'll do the number of terms first. If there are 2 terms, it's a binomial. If it's 1 term, it's a monomial. If there are more than 3, like this one, we just say it's a polynomial. And if there's exactly 3, it's a trinomial. The degree is the highest exponent, and I'll give you an exception to that in just a moment. So if the highest exponent for the variable is 1, it's linear. If there is no variable, then it's constant, because it never changes. This would be like if there was a variable, it'd be to the 0 power, so it doesn't change the coefficient at all. Here, the highest exponent is 3, so that's cubic, and 2 is quadratic. Remember, if it's 4, it's quartic. And after that, we just say the degree is. The exception to this is if there's 2 different variables, like an x and a y, that are being multiplied. So if we had x squared, y to the third, there's really 5 factors. There's 2 x's and there's 3 y factors. So we add them together, so this would have a degree of 5. In this case, when there's 2 different variables, we do not use the words. We just use the degree number. There are many different ways you could do 5. A quadratic trinomial, so I know I'm going to have an x squared in it. In standard form, leading coefficient of 3, remember that's leading the parade, and a final coefficient of -7. It's a trinomial, so I know that I have to have a middle term, and it doesn't matter what the coefficient is. Final coefficient of -7. Most of the time we think about that word coefficient as the number in front of a variable, but remember, you could have x to the 0 power, which would just be 1. So this is also considered a coefficient. I usually say it's the constant. I don't call it a coefficient, but it could be. All right, adding and subtracting polynomials, you have to find the terms that are alike. So here, and because this is plus, the parentheses really don't mean anything, so that would be 7x squared, and then the 5x and 8x, but remember this is a negative 5x, so that would be a positive 3x. Negative 5 plus 8 is a positive 3. And then we have our 7 and a negative 3, so 7 plus negative 3 is a positive 4. When it's subtraction, it's important that you remember to change all of the signs. So this is going to be a minus x to the third, a plus 2x squared, and a minus 4x. So these are like terms, so that would give me 2x to the third. This would give me a minus 5x squared. There's not another x term, just a plain x, so I'm going to leave it minus 4x, and then add the negative 5 to it, so minus 5. Question 8 is a multiplication one. Again, be very careful with the negatives. So I deal with the signs first. Negative times a negative is a positive, and then the numbers. 1 times 3 is 3, and then the variables. X squared times x squared is x to the 4th. Notice when we are combining, when we are adding or subtracting, the exponents stayed the same, but now that we're multiplying, they change. I'm going to do the next one. Negative times a positive is a negative. 1 times 2 is 2. X squared times x is x to the third. And this last one, negative times a negative is a positive. 1 times 4 is 4, and then it's just x squared. All right, now the FOIL method. Whoops, first, I think that's a 3. 3x times x is 3x squared. Plus 5x minus 9x minus 15. And then we can combine our like terms, so 3x squared minus 4x minus 15. This one is squared, so you can either write it like this, where you have two of them and use the FOIL method, or I'm going to use the shortcut, and maybe that will help some of you. The shortcut is you square the first, so that's 25x squared. You square the last, which negative 3 times negative 3 is a positive 9. And then to get the middle term, I multiply these together, so that's 15x. And I know that's both the outer and the inner, so it would be 30x. For 11, this is a shortcut as well, but this has one that is negative or a minus, a difference, and one with the plus. So this shortcut is, because your middle terms cancel out, you square the first and you subtract the square of the second. 12 is a little bit more tedious because you have to do the distributive property before you combine like terms. So negative 12x minus 6 plus 10x minus 15. And then this, remember, is a negative, so it's negative 9x plus 12. And now we can look for our like terms. All right, after combining like terms, I ended up getting negative 11x minus 9. 13, we can use the distributive property. We have a binomial multiplied by a trinomial. As long as we remember that every term has to be multiplied by the other three terms, then we should be good. So 3x times x squared is 3x to the third. 3x times 4x is 12x squared. And 3x times negative 9 is a negative 27x. Then I'm going to do 2 to all of them. So 2 times x squared is 2x squared, and it's positive. 2 times 4x is a positive 8x. And 2 times negative 9 is a minus 18. And notice I lined mine up so I can see it in columns, but you could have done this the horizontal way as well. So now I have a 3x to the third plus 14x squared minus 19x minus 18. I hope I have that right. All right, 14. The problems you have on your common assessment are a little bit different than what you have on 14, but they all have to do with geometric shapes, I believe. So the first floor has this floor plan, find the area. So you just need to find the area of all these little parts. So 2x times 2 plus 2x. 2x times 2 is 4x. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. X times x is x squared. And then what you have might be a little different than what I have, because I'm going with, this one is a 5, but I could see if you thought it was a 3. So I'm going to say that this part right here is 6x minus 30. And then I have to combine all my like terms. I have an x squared and a 4x squared to have 5x squared, and a 4x and a 6x, and then my minus 30. All right, lastly, given that the volume is length times width times height, and you have that floating 2 that means nothing, find the volume of the box. So all you're doing for this one is filling in the length times the width times the height. And that becomes a pretty easy problem, as long as you remember that everything has to be multiplied by every other term. So every term must be multiplied by the terms in the other expressions. So I'm going to start with this binomial times binomial. You could have really multiplied out the 6 first. It doesn't matter. I'm going to leave my 6 out here though. So 3x squared plus 6x plus 2x plus 4. So 6 times 3x squared plus 8x plus 4. And then I'm going to multiply out that 6. So 18x squared plus 48x plus 24. So the expression for the volume is 18x squared plus 48x plus 24. All right, hope I didn't make any mistakes in this video. Have a lot of things going on while I'm trying to make the video. So let me know if you find any mistakes. You guys have a great day. Don't forget to turn in your corrected take-home summative assessment.